Darren Hanlon, just a wonderful Australian songwriter. And it's called The Spin. You're Nick Reinberger. This is 97.3 ABC Illawarra. Let's talk about wombats. Who doesn't love a wombat? Like me, I'm sure you get quite upset when you see them on the side of the road when they've been hit by a car, but have you ever seen a wombat with the mange? It's equally upsetting, unfortunately, and usually has just as awful an end. John Creighton is the founder of Wombat Care in Bundanoon and is also the Winter Carriby Citizen of the Year as of Australia Day this year. The man known as the Wombat Man joins us now here at ABC Illawarra. Hello, John.
Hey, Nick. Good to talk to you this morning.
How does a man from New Orleans end up in Bundanoon?
Well, I can blame my wife for that, or I should thank my wife for that. I love it here. I'd never felt so much at home since we moved to the Highlands, yeah.
Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? You find an Australian girl and, yep, that's that.
That's it. And again, the community in the Highlands, and the beauty, and there's just so much to do, and it just never really ends around here. And I don't think anybody can retire around this place. There's just too much going on.
Well, that's fair enough. Now, the wombat is a strange animal even to Australians, really. They're such a funny and wonderful thing. But what did you know about them?
So much not understood, and we're still learning so much about them, and the surprising aspects, how intelligent they are, how actually fast they are, faster than Usain Bolt at 40 meters, how sensitive or, emotional intelligence these creatures have, and it just blows me away. And the more I learned as I was raising, the more it just sucked me right into learning more.
Tell me about the emotional intelligence, first of all.
Look, these guys, they really bond with their carers when they're young. I mean, they would bond with their mother, but that's taken away from them, let's say, through a road strike. And then, we're as carers, we bring them into care, and then essentially we become their foster moms in this picture. And we have them in our care for about 2 years. And, again, not these stoic animals that you may imagine that they are. They truly love, let's say, like a dog. They love that interaction, that connection. They have a playfulness, a cheeky nature about them. They invent little games and, very, very attached until, I would say, the hormones come in, until adolescence. And that's when the wildness creeps in, and they basically let you know it's time for me to go into the wild. And that window of that lovely interaction starts to close, and the wildness becomes, and they leave us just like they would leave their mothers. They go off on their own into the wild. So we just have to make sure that after 2 years, we place them in the right place to be, where they can have successful wildlife.
Strangely, it's the same thing that happens to human teenagers, really. The wildness comes in.
That's exactly what I said. It's true. The wildness sets in, yes, sir.
Is the bonding that you talk about with their carers, although that's charming and I'm sure that's a beautiful relationship, is that a danger that is too great and they won't be able to go into the wild?
No, surprisingly, no, we've not seen that. It's an open opportunity, and like I said, the window shuts, and as they get older, we have less and less to do with them. And again, that call of the wildness just pulls them away. You would think that, maybe this one's too close or that one's too clingy. In their own time, just like our kids, they reach a certain period in their life or weight. We try to judge that by their weight, but really it's about the disposition. They let you go and don't really look back. And some of the people who have they're fortunate to be able to release on their properties, the wombats will come back from time to time and show that they know them, but they don't really interact with humans after that. They don't, we're not seeing any humanized wombats as a process of raising them.
Right, and
we're doing more research on the released wombats, yeah.
So the genes are strong enough that even though they might come back to the house and say, yeah, g'day, I'm still around, that their natural food hunting instincts will remain within them. You've tracked that and you know that that's the case.
Yes, absolutely. Look, it's a bit like a cat, I suppose, like people will get a cat from a mom or, it's before its eyes are even open. Sometimes they're bottle feeding these cats, and it's not the same long process with cats, but they become, they know how to become a cat. They know all the cat tricks. It's all built into the DNA. All of that catness. No, mom wasn't there to teach them that, and they learn it. And the same with our wombats. They become the wombat that we know and love. And that's a very, very good thing. A domesticated wombat is a sad thing in my eyes.
So what is the workload like if you get a tiny one into your care?
I generally hand on the pinkies to what we call pinky carers. And a pinky is just a wombat that's several weeks old. It can be about as big as your fist. And the demands are really high for those folks. So I pass it on to what I would call pinky carers in the wildlife groups. And that means special feeds, special humidifiers, humidicribs, feeds every 2 hours around the clock. So these people are so dedicated in looking after those little pinkies to get them up to a size and weight in which we other carers can take them on. That's about 2 kilos. So when they hit about 2 kilos, the pinky carers then pass them on, because at that point they have their fur. They're thermoregulating, means they can control their own temperature in their body much easier. But still, they're demanding feeds 3-4 hours a day, still on the bottle, not eating grass quite yet. But we would take them on at that point. So they lose their pinky mom and gain us, and until they're released at, let's say, 24 kilos, somewhere around there.
I've heard that.
So it's a long process, but every aspect is hours and hours of dedication. And look, I think you have to love them to be able to do this, to really connect at that level, because it's so demanding. Even raising the bigger ones, it's just a different level of demanding. So the pinky carers tend not to go all the way for the most part. They pass them on to other carers who will raise them from 2 kilos on to release. And then you have to have your enclosures, and it just never really ends. And they are very high needs. I wish I can say it's not, but it is. And carers are very surprised. But once again, carers, once they get to see and know these animals, they dig in. They become just as dedicated. And that's the way we move forward, having more carers through the wildlife groups, more people putting up their hands and saying, I can help, or the people who can't help by raising help in different ways. We have people, with carpentry skills, or people who will come and pick the grass that we feed them, or help with basically anything, IT or anything that carers need. Sometimes the community works together with that. And I've been really fortunate in Wombat Care Bundanon that the community here has embraced that, and it's just really supported myself and my work from before the fires and through the fires. I mean, we fed animals that had no food in the field. And, during that horrible time, we put $16,000 worth of food out in the bush for them to eat, to be able to get through until things grew back again. So community involvement is huge. And, so I'm saying, if you know a carer, see what they can, ask them if they can use some help in some way. I guarantee you they could.
I have seen might have been pinkies or might have been just beyond pinkies, hanging around in people's socks. Because they're kind of like a wombat's pouch. Is that still the case? And do you need any of my odd socks, John? They're very large.
I'm not looking. Oh, well, you never know, Nick. Good large socks are a good thing. Look, they love that feeling of being surrounded by something. You can have the temperature right, but the wombats always will seek this pouch. And when they're little, we hang a pouch in their little enclosure. They'll jump in that. They'll prefer that to sleeping on the ground, or even in a, let's say a little doggy bed or something like that. They really don't want that. They love the feeling of that pouch around them. And we've had lots of knitted pouches through lots of lovely people, and we pass those around, and they see their ways through the circuits. And it's a lovely connection when people donate these hand knitted pouches or their old socks.
Well, what do you most need right now?
Oh God, we need more carers. We need more people treating mange, I would say, at this point, and we're organizing something like that. I wish I could give better details to you today, Nick, but it's coming together where we're going to be able to train up the people to treat mange on their properties, and they will be given the medication and the proper instruments to do that. I'm happy to go out and instruct on that, because mange is probably the greatest threat to the wombats, and it's really taking a turning point now towards the worst, because as they're being pushed and pushed into closer environments that mange might, which is, let's imagine it as a head lice. It's just a small microscopic parasitic lice. It jumps around, and the more you condense them, like COVID, you know, it'll spread, and the mites are getting on them. And for the wombats and all our native animals, it's a death sentence. They do not have the resistance that the European mammals have, and it's come over apparently with European settlement with our animals, and then the fox would be the vector who spread it fastly. But even if the fox was to disappear now, we'd still have mange, because the wombats are spreading it amongst each other now.
But it's not necessarily a death sentence, as I understand it, the mange. It can be treated.
Exactly. Well, that's probably the best message I can get out. It can now be fully treated and fully cured. You know, 20 years ago, there was oil and sulfur and all these things that didn't really work, or people thought they worked because they saw the wombat go away and they saw a wombat come back, but it wasn't the same wombat. Now we have cydectins, we have Bravecto, we have different tools at our disposal that absolutely work. We just need to get it onto the wombat in the right intervals and at the right doses, and we're winning, and we can protect that wombat and completely turn that mange around. And so many good stories have come out of that, you know, because people have had wombats on their properties. Some of these wombats are 50 and 20 years old. People swear they've known them all that time on their property, and it's old, and it's just a mange, and they're desperate to save it. And it's so easy for us to be able to do that, but we've got to get those calls. I often feel like the middleman between the medicine and the caller, because the people who call that animal in are the ones who really save it, and I come out there with the medicine, which is the one that really saves it next. So we work together on that. But, you know, there's so many wombats in need that I don't know about unless I get those calls. And people see them out there with their scabs and with the crusted over eyes and ears. And once again, they're not blind. Those scabs fall off within 10 days of medication, and that wombat makes a complete turnaround. And it's a wonderful thing to see.
John, been a pleasure to talk to you as always, mate, and all the best for the future.
Nick, I love your show, and all the wombats love your show. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time. Well, they do. They love good music. That's
excellent. That's what I want to hear. I'll find some New Orleans music for you, John. Good on you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you very much. Bye, Nick.
The wonderful John Creighton here at ABC Illawarra from Wombat Care Bundanuta and the Windsor Caribbees Citizen of the Year. ABC Illawarra Mornings is where you are.
It goes science. Yes, science is amazing. But not for me though, because I am sick of waiting. I've been patient. I really have. I've been reasonable. Now it's time to say what I needed to. Here's science.
All right, time for Tech Talk.
Quite good. Yeah, thank you.
What is science inventing that's going to turn up in